discussing about finding real SaaS problems. What should be the ground level approach for that? All right, let's start. So let's find out the practical challenges in software services while identifying the challenges. So what are the real problems uh, in software as a as a service? Problem is identification, assumption versus validation, insight driven solutions. Just to discuss, the overall gist of this slide is like, most of the founders or most of the SaaS solutions actually, they do the ideation and they start building on it and developing the software and try to sell it out rather than actually validating it mm, with the real users, right? So I think this is the major mistake most software founders do, right? Uh, Instead of validating it with the real businesses on the ground level, they start building themselves and try to impose the feature on the businesses rather than whether it is actually required in the market or not. So yeah, I think these are the major problems which most founders do, like misidentification of the problem. um, they do the assumption rather than validation, and yeah, and rather than observing the business, they just do, based on some trend or some term that they have, they try to implement it in the software. So let's move on. Now focus on, now this is my current stage. What I'm doing right now is, while building the SaaS products, my focus is more on understanding the business. That's why it's written current stage right there. So what I'm avoiding at the moment is, right, uh, I'm not scaling anything, I'm not selling anything to anyone, because I do not want to sell incomplete products. My focus is on learning the real business operations, okay, uh, and understanding the day-to-day workflow of the business, that how they actually work, how they are structured, how decisions being taken in the business, and you know based on what data actually the businesses decide what action they need to take in the real environments. I'm trying to understand this, and also observing the way those systems work, observing their terminology as well, the way they interact in day to their activities of the business, what kind of technical knowledge they already have, are they tech savvy or not, and they're understanding their terminology as well. So I think observing such things are important, and those observations then you can actually um, turn it into um, specific features for your own application. I mean, that's currently what I'm trying to do right now as well. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So these are the common mistakes, I mean, in SaaS building generally founders do, like uh, a linear development pitfall, flawed problem assumptions, importance of early validation. So most people just start building things. They follow, they do that, an idea came to my mind, I started developing it, and once I developed and I tried to start selling it, without knowing that, whether it will actually be adoptable for the business or not, or they are, this is actual use case for them or not. So, and or assuming ideas which are not the real world problems, right, but just we manufactured those features from on our assumption that it will actually help them, but it may or may not, because on the ground level the picture is completely different. So early validation is important. Next is defining a real problem, right? Now, in this slide, I mean, these 4 points like struggles to define problems, pattern observation over interviews, focus on problem discovery, increased adoption likelihood. Okay, so let me summarize this in simple words. So normally, business when you talk to a businesses generally share their perspective or project their business as their, the kind of workflow they follow, the process they follow in their day-to-day activities. They generally talk about that. They try to um, project their businesses like that. We have this process from procurement to product development and to, taking it to the market, uh, and that's how their sales work, right? So they can actually describe the workflow, but they will not tell you the actual pain points that actually causes friction in their day-to-day activities that can improve the system. For example, let's take a small example of um, let's suppose we can take some Indian business, a small business example. So let's suppose they are managing the documents at the moment manually. You have a heap of documents and you have to go through each and every document. If I'm so suddenly I received a call, I need a specific document, so I'll be going through a lot of documents to find that particular document, and then it may take 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and I may still not be able to find the relevant document that is required. But what if you provide a search feature to the customer, which can actually solve, just on a typing few relevant words, that can actually bring the file on the screen, and you can share it further. So such observations, small observations, can actually solve their business pain points, right? So these things, I mean, this example that I shared with you, that only comes from the observation only. So observing the business is more important, though when you interact with the businesses, they, as I said, they just project their work, they just share their workflows with you, but rather than the pain points. So you can only find out the actual pain points by observing the business day-to-day activities. Then, yeah, uh, our focus should be on problem discovery, right, rather than building new features. And the more problems you will find in the business that you can actually automate and save time for the business or make it more productive or effective for the business, that will likely to be more adopted than something that you have created based on just your own ideation. So this way more businesses will find it relevant and be able to connect with your application, because you have solved a real problem which is required for most of the businesses and will be relevant to most of the businesses, and they will feel connected and will eventually be able to adopt that uh, software in their own business, right? So yeah, next is observation based approach. So now we need to identify a problem, how we can actually do. So observation approaches start with observing, with the observation by, as I said, we should talk to the customer, we should um, know about their workflows, how they perform day-to-day activities, um, you know the kind of terminology they are using in the system. And you can actually identify inefficiency, just like I gave the example of searching a document, right, the manual document and a digital document. So you can identify such efficiencies only by observing a business, while interacting with the business, and try to understand more and more about their workflows, and you dig deeper into their problems, you understand their pain points by interacting with the business, or maybe by observing as well. So while you are having a meeting, somebody, your client gets a call, or the employee staff that is sitting around, they can come up with some pain points, and you observe that, oh, this is happening here. How about if we can resolve this digitally? So I think observation based approach is very much required, and it leads to you know um, solving more painful points for the business. But this can only happen when you visit the business, interact with the business, try to understand it in at the deeper level. And once you have the solution, it will get naturally fits into their workflow. So these are some real world examples, like small businesses rely on registers doing the manual entries. Some businesses are using Excel. Some businesses are using WhatsApp to interact. You know, anything can be, but these are the inefficient ways of doing, uh, you know, uh, the work, right? Because you cannot keep track of everyone. Like you're talking to 50 to 100 customers over for WhatsApp. I mean that's not even feasible at all, right? Very difficult to do, honestly, and if inefficient way as well to do the things. So yeah, and these anything that is doing you're doing manually are more prone to errors, because as humans we can keep track of to some extent, like 30, 50, or maybe 100. I don't know, but yeah, and there are chances we can make errors, right? And yes, targeted solution approach can help to identify specific pain points, and this enables you to create focused solutions instead of just adding up more and more features to your software that may not require by the business, and it only will add complexity, right, for them. Next is adoption challenge. So as we discussed, user wants easier process, just new software, not just new software features, and easy to use applications, right? So as I said, it should fit into their business workflow rather than they should adopt the software. Workflow integration. So there should be a seamless integration as per their existing workflows, based on their habits, rather than we try to impose the software and ask them to adopt this software and change your system, because that would be difficult, and they may end up unsubscribing your software, right? And then eventually reducing friction. So yes, so designing solution that minimizing complexity encourages high. So obviously, the more you will have, uh, you know minimize the complexity of uh, design, using the system, the more complexity you'll remove from the system, remove from their workflows, the easy it will be for them to adopt and use the system, and it can go for a long term. And what should we avoid during the development part? And most of the founders do this mistake. They build features on assumptions only, without validating it with the real use case or with the real users, and it gets misaligned with the business workflows, which leads to extra complexity, right? Or maybe not needed features as well sometimes. Do not copy features from some other SaaS applications, or any term that you heard on the internet, or something new came up in the technology sector, and you start looking to implement directly into your application, which may not be adoptable to your business users, and they may not even know how to use that tech uh, in the initial days, right? So it will be difficult for them to understand that. It will add extra pressure to learn that technology, right? So so make sure you validate it with your users first, and then implement that. Same. And the important part is, I mean, this is very important point. Do not force the users to change their system to adopt your software, rather than build a software and that they will naturally adopt in their day-to-day activities, right? So build a solution that will automatically fits in their current workflow, right? um, yeah, I mean, once you start focusing on the genuine user problems, you'll actually develop an effective solution and effective software application. My strategy is I generally follow, identifying the small problems first. Take a problem, um, go deep into it, understand it. What is the root cause for that? What is making it happen? And what could be the best possible solution for this? And that should actually naturally fit into the workflow, and we should be able to provide such a solution to the customer that they'll automatically adopt it. And then once you discussed and found out the solution, I mean, you find out the solution, you should start the incremental development after that. And that's how I'm actually doing. Okay, so this is the overall reflection what I'm doing. um, Prioritizing seamless integration, emphasize simplicity and clarity, solve real problems effectively, and value long-term success. So this is the whole mantra I'm following. uh, Trying to create a solution that fits naturally into users' existing workflows to have effortless adoption, designing tools that are simple and easy to use, minimize their efforts, right? And it should also be adopting the behavioral changes of the system as well, like their terminology, how tech savvy they are, so that we can design solutions according to the business. Yes, identifying real problems is more important, um, rather than you're just adding new features. And yes, all of this, if you're doing all of this, this will ensure your sorry, long-term success in the SaaS market. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it I wanted to discuss. But yeah, there are a few. This slide, and this is the last slide, in which I think it's important. I thought it's important slide to share it with you guys. Like when you're interacting with businesses, it's important, you know, um, the kind of questions you ask to business, the engagement from both the sides. It should be an open discussion or a community discussion where people are open to put their thought. I would say weird and weird thought, they can put it out. You should create an ecosystem or an environment where people are free to talk, uh, you know whatever problems they are facing, whatever challenges they are facing, or any solution that that can come up during the conversations. So let me give you a very small example. While engaging with the business, sometimes it happens you are talking to the management. So management can view the problems from their perspective of the lens of the management only. They can see, okay, employees are working, but what actual problem employees are facing, those are working on the ground, they may not know at all, right? So having I would suggest having one person from each section or each department in the call, or who can actually tell the problem is uh, can really actually help you finding the right problems. So once you solve those small problems from every section of the business workflow, you can create a successful software as a software, right? And then eventually your product will become a successful one. So yes, I think that's it from my end. Thank you. If anything, if any product you are building or anything you're trying to launch in the coming days, if you want to connect, you can drop your views in the comment section. You can connect with me as well. I'm happy to help. Thank you. Thank you so much.